Recently, PNSO released its Daspletosaurus as part of its Tyrannosaur wave. Guess what Haolonggood has given us this time? Yes, a Daspletosaurus as well. It's really interesting to have two of the most popular Chinese companies release the same animal so close to each other, and I for one am very eager to get right into it. This is our Haolonggood Daspletosaurus. It's about 29 centimeters or 11.7 inches, which is longer than PNSO's 26 centimeters or 10.2 inches from the snout to the tail tip. The Daspletosaurus was estimated to be up to 9 meters or 30 feet long, which puts this model at 1:31 scale, so sadly too big for 1:35. The tallest point is the crown at 10.5 centimeters or 4.1 inches, and here we have the Wonder Artistic model's 1:30 humanoid. Haolonggood again offers two color variants, the red and the green. Now both have the same pattern scheme, but in different colors. The head ornamentation is accented in brighter colors, but it's really the body that's most eye-catching. You'll see in both later how this pattern varies in color and intensity throughout the body, and is so pleasing to look at. The tail adopts a different pattern, and it's almost like Haolonggood is doing what it can to avoid the bad taste of stripes. Now let's take a closer look at the red. Haolonggood actually names the species, and it's the type specimen Tyrannosaurid. And you see the characteristic brow horns, although their prominence should be more before the eye, in the area of the lacrimal, and not behind as you see here. The keratinous buildup is done very nicely, as is the way it continues down the nasal, and the contrast in the orange of this area is very eye-catching. The detail is very good as usual, and very clean, with regional differences in size and shape of the scales. And you see obvious differences in the maxilla, the labial area, and the mandible, which I especially like. I also like the infusion of lavender in this area. In the upper labial area, there's a rather artificial look to these long scales. Something about them makes me think more of a dragon than a dinosaur, if that makes sense. And speaking of labial, the greatest attraction for this model must surely be the lips. And here you can see how well they've done it. The lips have one job, to create a good seal when the mouth is closed, and they do exactly that. The mouth articulates, you see how fuss-free the whole operation is. Unfortunately, I suspect due to how the joint is engineered, it suffers from some prognatism. Especially obvious when the mouth is open, which ironically is the only thing stopping me from getting the excellent wild safari. And then now the body. Unlike PNSO's proportions, our Daspletosaurus today follows a much more typical tyrannosaurid bauplan. The basic form is there, as are unusual features such as the longer proportions of the Daspletosaurus arms. As we just saw in our Haolonggood Ankylosaurus review, the sculpting is really exquisite. As we move from region to region, I think you'll agree. The fineness in all these areas cannot be faulted. Haolonggood has created both detail and texture, but actually looking very believable at this scale. Haolonggood's other strong point is their eye and skill for color application, and this is a perfect example of how a dinosaur that's still brown-based can still present delightful results. The base is of a yellow ochre, but with reddish purple in regions of the back, belly, and anterior hind limbs. Now what's really pleasing is the pattern and how it's applied. The network of vein-like streaks creates a very pleasing dappling effect. And these veins vary regionally in color, for example where the purple red is, and also in intensity, for example being fainter here. I'll just look at that small scale detail throughout the body. Here, here, and here in the chest. You can see the detail in the scale even over smaller areas like the arms, which are proportionately longer in the Daspletosaurus than in other tyrannosaurids. Notice how the color also changes down the arms. Then the hind limbs, and once again that detail. Look at that beautiful pattern. And then even here in the leg, the way the base color subtly shifts, along with the naturally infused markings. It just looks like pigmentation. And these very nicely sculpted scutes. And then the feet. The plantar surface detail. And finally, the tail. Again, the detail is very good. In addition, they've also differentiated the pattern down here, so that everywhere you look, you just don't get bored. So just a quick once over. And now the green. While the red is more fiery, this one is calmer in its presentation. And stylistically, it's the same as the red, with the base color blended with different tones in the back, the arms, and the anterior hind limbs. You'll see similarly pleasing differences in the color and intensity of the veining. The accent color this time is orange, but it seems to segue more gently into the yellow-green. In the head ornamentation, there are those keratinous highlight colors. And let's have a once over now. You can see the detail here again. It's just so pleasing how Haolonggood is really catching up on its theropods. I'm really taken up with the application of these veins and the dappled look it creates. Really just very soothing. And then the tail. Now let's get to the comparisons. First, of course, we have a direct comparison between the two. You can see how these two create very different moods. Green has a more calming effect for me, while the red an energizing one. It's really hard to decide which I prefer depending on my mood. And the different colors will doubtlessly draw your eyes to different areas. Both are very pleasing, and I'm sure whichever you get, you'll like. Then we have to compare it with the PNSO Daspletosaurus, and right away the difference in proportions are obvious. Our Daspletosaurus today has a much more traditional tyrannosaurid bauplan, and if you weren't too sure about the PNSO like I was, then this would certainly be more to your liking. And most obviously, you want to see the difference the lips make, and it definitely is very obvious. I think people who prefer lips are going to be very happy with this one. And still, I have to say, scalation-wise, the Haolonggood is less natural looking. And you can see the difference in sculpting styles very clearly in this close-up. In addition, even though the PNSO is a smaller scale, the scales are even finer, and hence is a skill that PNSO brings to the game highly apparent. A look at the inside of the mouths, particularly the palate, also highlights PNSO's stranglehold on quality sculpting. Unfortunately, the prognatism is quite obvious when you compare the two, and is especially so with the mouth open. But the fact that Haolonggood can give us a lip seal this good is, I suspect, going to override such complaints from many people. Coloration-wise, the Haolonggood is visually a lot more interesting. There are so many complexities in the body, not just in the primary skin color, but the pattern, and how it varies in color and intensity over the animal. The only thing against it really would be the scale for many people. At 1 to 30, it won't stand well with the PNSO tyrannosaurids you already have. That and the prognatism. If these aren't issues for you, I think on balance, you'd be a lot happier with the Haolonggood. And look at the contemporaneous Gorgosaurus from PNSO. The other Albertosaurine from PNSO, the Albertosaurus, and our standard size comparators, the PNSO T-Rex Wilson, and Cameron. So that's it for this review. I think you can see that this is quite a splendid representation of the Daspletosaurus, and in many areas you prefer this to the PNSO, especially the lips. To have a lipped theropod with actual functioning lips that work is not common, and in this one we have it. The color, if you get the brown-based one, has more overtones of red, and the patterning really makes it stand out. I didn't like the prognatism, but I intend on keeping the jaw closed, so it's not an issue. Haolonggood has really improved on its theropods and so quickly from the Allosaurus that I didn't like. And what I think that Haolonggood could do now is to actually redo its ill-fated Tyrannosaurus and obliterate it from memory. If it can fix the prognatism, I have no doubt it will be one of the best model T-Rexes around. So that's it. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.